Hashmallim and Vikings. This name, do you use it as it is? Or is it just something you looked up on Earth, equivalent of your concept?
No, that one is from here, filter there. It is even found in the Bible as legions of archangels. Something like special forces.
And why that name? Isn't it Hebrew?
And where does Hebrew come from? It comes from ancient Egyptian-based languages. And what was in Egypt? Taygetians, among others.
And the Engans, they are the ancestors of the Vikings, aren't they?
Yes.
Then why was their culture so bestial? That's how the Engans were?
Because it's already humanized and everything is twisted. And because a lot of that about the Vikings is also folklore, they were not quite like that. It is the same with the Mayans, with their sacrifices and rituals that were a bad copy of medical surgeries by the stellar Mayans.
And the Viking music also has something to do with the Engans? How is Engan music? Above you said they use drums a lot.
Engan, similar to Taygetan music, I guess louder, with more drums and more brass, but without reaching the Urma level. Those are really majestic with their music, like Wagner on steroids.
Laws.
If you are from another density, the laws of the earth are of no use to you, nor are yours to humans because they are in a different density.
Earth's legal laws do not apply to us. But there is a part of the laws that do apply on Earth that are the same as interstellar laws. And those are the maritime laws. This is because they are the oldest, and they are there because the initial visiting races brought them there and have continued to apply them. For the maritime legal basis, humans also take the Bible as a reference. The space in the Bible is the waters above. Hence, maritime law does not apply only to the sea, where the little fish swim around, but to the sea, which is legally equivalent to space. Space is the waters above in the Bible. And there is a lot of truth in that, because space is not empty. It only appears to be empty from a 3D low-density point of view. In reality, space is water. The maritime law, that is the humanized version of the interstellar maritime law, is the one that applies when a sea vessel sails in international waters, where, for example, the ship and its interior is by law part and sovereign territory of the country or planet where the vessel is registered. Humans applied them to some extent innocently because those laws do not speak of the waters referring to the sea, but to the firmament, to space, as I said above. Question from Dale.
As you know, in late January this year, I experienced what may be an abduction or a gift. I awoke after 3 hours and 45 minutes, which is a long time for me, and I was in a daze. I later noted a perfect X-sized triangle on my left leg just above the knee. Some 2 months later, I removed what seemed to be an implant because it was sticking out of the skin and poking me. Was this a real event? Were you or our family involved?
1. That was a real event. Perpetrators, gardeners. harmless zeta grays. 2. We don't need to use implants, as our technology has evolved to a point where all we need is to read soul frequency, based on the energy of an aura or energy field around a person. Zetas, it's their job to look after starseeds and others, but especially starseeds. But they are not the only ones abducting. We don't.
Okay, good. That's great to know. Thank you. Can you possibly tell me the purpose?
There are multiple purposes. It's mostly to monitor you in general, as a tag on a dolphin. It gives readings in telemetry about how your body is working. Zetas, or gardeners, make sure your container is properly updated to last as long as possible, or at least to the end of your mission on Earth. Yours and other starseeds in general. The implant most probably was placed there for you to find it, or else they would have placed it somewhere else. The implant is a message in itself, a corroboration of what you already know. Earth goo.
Gaia, within the Matrix, also produces some type of energy on which the controllers of this planet feed?
Yes, it's part of the circle of exploitation. A lot of what they do is to keep it low in frequency. An example of this would be one of the uses of chemtrails, HARP, creating or modifying the frequency in the ionosphere. Or I can mention the recent spill in the Gulf of Mexico, where a very large amount of crude oil containing positive black goo was spilled. That area of the Gulf of Mexico is considered the third eye of Gaia. They were trying to close it, to cut off her contact with Source. I should also mention that oil is like the blood of a planet. As with any organism, blood is the very life of the organism. It is a renewable mineral that has nothing to do with fossils.
The positive black goo, obviously it is positive, nothing to do with the negative goo. Are you doing anything to prevent that Gaia eye thing so that they don't shut it down?
It is a branch of action of other races. But yes, as a federation, there is intervention. Negative black goo mostly comes from Tiamat. That is why it is negative, as would be the blood of a dead person, because it contains all the frequencies of suffering and despair of an entire planet, and all the consciousnesses that were within it. It is crystalline in form. It contains information in the same way that quartz retains it. SETI.
Everybody knows that Project SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, it's basically a joke, and they're never going to hear or find radio waves from other civilizations. But many ask how we communicate, what the technology is, and why they don't find communications from other civilizations. The reason is that no advanced interstellar civilization uses radio waves or microwaves for communication. What we all use is lepton-muon neutrino bursts that alter and manipulate gravity zones in a coded manner. Gravity is a flux of ether, so it is scalar and outside the concepts of distance. Making the encoded gravity powdered within the ether the best means of communication, as distances are irrelevant, making real-time communication possible between the ship in deep space and the home planet, ship to ship. Even in hyperspace it is possible. Looking for radio waves is as silly as looking for smoke signals with a pair of glasses in an attempt to see if there's another civilization. when as of now, today, you no longer use smoke signals.
Correct. So, SETI is completely bogus and has another purpose altogether. What other purpose can SETI have? To perpetuate the non-existence of extraterrestrials?
SETI is just an excuse for people to think that someone is looking for extraterrestrials. The government knows about the ETs. They're already here.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that they are not finding anyone must mean that you're not here.
SETI monitors the sky for all extraterrestrial spacecraft and what is going on around us. It is a military operation, like looking for Russian missiles. It can also be used to triangulate weapons. It is entertainment for people, SETI. Make them look the other way. Have an excuse to say it's impossible for extraterrestrial life to communicate, let alone be here next to you.
The pineal gland.
How long does it take to decalcify the pineal gland? How should I do it?
How long does it take? Well, that depends on each individual and the severity of each case. In general, these pineal glands are not so calcified. I mean, the average of the population. If they are, they would not be interested in decalcifying them. Why do they want to decalcify them? Because they are already awake in one way or another. If they are awake to those things, to those subjects, then it works for them, the pineal. But they want more. More out-of-body experiences, more sensitivity to energies, and more psychic abilities. Contrary to popular belief, we, from here observing, see that this is not the problem. The problem is that there is no problem, because having those limitations of what you do not have as abilities is part of the experience there as a spiritual being having a human experience. That need for more, to have paranormal experiences, or whatever you want to call it, comes from a deep fear that everyone has. That fear is the primordial fear of death, of their own destruction. They desire more because it would be corroboration that there is more after death. That is why they want more. Not having those abilities is a strange and novel thing, because everywhere in this universe you have them, and it is the most normal thing. The challenge is to remember who you are without those abilities, to find your way home, to remember who you are. People who have those abilities on Earth are to some extent anomalous, and those who don't have any special abilities, it's not something that's wrong with them. On the contrary, it means that the incarnation system within the 3D matrix is working very well for them. Cabal and Illuminati. What is the difference between the Cabal and Illuminati? The Cabal is bigger. It includes reptiles, Maitre, and other archons. Illuminati is a power level that is part of the Cabal, a much more human level, elite power based on high-ranking Masons. It merges without clear limits, the deep Cabal and the Illuminati. Example of this is the Vatican being both, or the Lizard Queen. And Deep State? I would put it also between the two worlds, because some in the Deep State are no longer human. But we would also have to discuss what exactly is the Deep State. And what is it? Those who control the government behind, the alliances, the corporations that are in charge, not the political state of the Western nations. The part of the military behind the obvious, the budget for black operations, the SSP, etc. And those who are good within the deep state, I don't know, those who support disclosure, etc. Cabal is divided, as we know. They are those who help humanity to balance the karma from those in black, where, as I said, in black means that they are priests of the cult of Saturn, black hats, black squares, white squares. It's part of the game, Gosha. Cosmology. I know this is a very long topic, but what could you tell us about cosmology in a few words? About cosmology, what is perceived from 3D and from 5D or any other lower plane is only a small part of a great whole without time, without dimension, without distances. It is something that we must humbly understand, and that we simply cannot comprehend from our point of view. We can create theories, often with testable elements, but never as a whole. Our minds, strong as they may be, simply cannot handle what is out there, not as a whole. Concepts like there never was a beginning and there never will be an end. We have neither the frame of reference nor the mental construct to truly understand these concepts, so we formulate theories to explain them. But they will only be limited to our own frame of understanding. And the truth is that we cannot understand everything. There is always more. And the more we learn, the more we realize what we don't know. But we always try to know more, and it will always be like that. My race is characterized by being explorers. We can't stand not knowing something. We have taken exploration to the ultimate consequences, and many crews have never returned. But that is how we are, in our inexorable quest for knowledge. Matrix and the DNA.
If the 3D matrix were to fall, would we need assistance to return to the original DNA? Like, would we have to go through massive purification where our DNA returns to its original state? Or will it automatically return from the higher frequencies?
It is you who are making that change. Your DNA needs nothing more than the work that you do to raise your consciousness, because of the awakening and the expansion of perception that this brings. If you raise your frequency and your level of perception, if you work on yourself, you will end up altering your DNA in the right way. Do not worry about that, but take control over your own awakening. Your DNA is only a reflection of who you are, what you think. The assistance you seek is only that which is already being given to you, the guidance of mind expansion.